You want a real story, huh? Something that sticks to your ribs? Maybe makes you snort? Maybe makes you mad? Maybe even leaves you sitting there staring at the wall for a minute. All right, but don't say I didn't warn you. Here goes. First off, I'm not the villain here. You hear me? I need you to really hear that, because I've had enough people look at me, sideways whisper behind hands, act like there's some blood on mine. But I'll say it flat out, I never touched him. Not once. And yet, well, here we are. The truth. My son is dead. That's what Karen shrieked in my face right there in the street, voice. Cracked tears streaming, neighbors peeking through blinds. You're the reason my son is dead. Like it was a fact, like grief could just pick someone and point and say, that one. It's all on them. But it's not. I don't care how many nights it keeps me up, and believe me, it does. Sometimes those old shadows creeping in. But I know what happened. I know exactly where I was, what I did, and more importantly, what I didn't do. See, this whole mess didn't begin with some simmering hate or wild revenge fantasy. No, it started with nothing but boredom, dumb luck, and a little too much free time on a Saturday. Picture me standing around at this auction, cheap coffee in hand, half awake under these buzzing fluorescent lights that make everyone look like they've got the flu. Then out comes this Harley. Big, bad, black and chrome engine, so polished you could shave in it. I didn't need it. Honestly, I wasn't even sure I wanted it. But I raised my paddle anyway, and boom, suddenly I own a Harley. You ever do something like that? Buy something just because you could? I swear, if I'd just stayed home that day, none of this would have happened. Fate's a real piece of work. So now I'm riding home, and the neighborhood's got this weird hush like I just dropped a UFO onto Main Street. Curtains twitching jaws, dropping little kids peeking around corners. I wasn't trying to show off. If anything, I was trying to keep the thing quiet. I rolled in slow, engine purring, not roaring, parked it nice and neat, wiped my hands, gave myself a little smile. For about 30 seconds, life was good. Then footsteps. Fast. Billy. Yeah, Karen's kid. You know the type, sharp-eyed, cocky, a little too sure of himself for someone who's never paid his own bills. He walks right up, tries to play it cool, but you can see the envy eating at him. Congratulates me through clenched teeth, mind you. Then blurts out he was at the auction too. Says that Harley was his dream. He'd been saving up, planning it all out, picturing himself tearing down the highway, wind in his hair. But I outbid him by half a second, and you could see the crack run through him just like that. Still, he tries to brush it off, circles around the bike, way too close, fingers twitching, asking me how fast does it go, what'd you pay for it, you even ride much. It was less questions, more accusation, you know, like I'd robbed him. I just answered straight. Why not? At that point, Billy was just a kid with a bruised ego, not some warning sign I should have run from. He walked off eventually, but the way he glanced back, it wasn't disappointment in his eyes. It was calculation. I should have noticed. 3 days later, the Harley's the talk of the block. I'm half expecting the city to send a marching band next. And then Karen, the neighborhood's self-declared queen, HOA president, clipboard wielded like a scepter, comes storming down from her porch. Doesn't even say hello, just barks my name, points at the bike, looks at me like I just dumped nuclear waste on her lawn. She rattles off a list of rules. Motorcycles aren't harmonious. They're too loud. They clash with the aesthetic, blah, blah. Never shows me any paperwork, just quotes lines from some imaginary rule book she keeps in her head. I ask for proof calmly, by the way, and she smiles, thin-lipped, tells me presidents don't have to explain themselves. Sure, Karen. Real democratic. Of course, Billy's lurking across the street, glued to his phone, pretending not to listen, but hanging on every word. That's when it all clicks, the auction, the stairs, Karen suddenly dusting off ancient HOA policies. This wasn't about noise. It was about control and about her golden boy not getting what he wanted. I tell her the Harley's legal, registered, insured, parked in my own damn driveway. She doesn't care. Says if I don't comply, there'll be consequences. Fines. Hearings. She sounds way too excited about it. From then on, harassment becomes part of my morning routine. Anonymous notes shoved under my door, warnings about made-up noise violations even though I'm out of town. Once someone, I wonder who loosened the cover on the bike so rain soaked the seat. Karen denies it, of course, but lets it slip she could make it all stop. If I just cooperated. Which in her language meant selling the Harley, preferably to Billy. I laughed. Politely. Repeatedly. The more I said no, the harder she pushed. Next thing I know, there's an HOA meeting about dangerous machines. Guess whose bike is the villain in every slideshow? Neighbors just nod along, probably afraid of being next on her list. Billy sidles up after offers to buy the bike cheap. Of course says, "You know accidents happen when bikes sit too long." That smile of his never touches his eyes. So I start documenting everything. Dates, photos, audio. Karen sees my phone out, realizes I'm not playing anymore. She backs off a hair but then starts sending letters. Certified mail, all official looking, each one nastier than the last. She wanted me tired alone, just ready to give in. But here's the thing. Pressure works both ways. She was so focused on making me crack, she didn't realize she was tightening a net around herself one little thread at a time. One Saturday, sun shining, not a cloud in the sky. You know the kind of morning that makes you think maybe the world's not so bad? I decide to give the Harley a good wash. Soap sponge the whole 9 yards. Felt nice, like I was polishing a trophy Karen couldn't steal with her clipboard. Left it out to dry right where it always sat. Went inside, made some coffee, took a shower, wasted a little time. Came back out and... You ever look at a space that's supposed to be filled but it's empty, and your brain just can't make sense of it? That's what I felt. My bike gone. Just gone. First I tell myself maybe it got towed. Maybe Karen cooked up some violation and had it taken. I walk the block. Neighbors won't meet my eyes until this old guy Stan or maybe Dave finally mutters that he saw Billy earlier, hanging around my driveway, helmet in hand. Someone else pipes up, said they heard an engine loud, rough, not a pro behind the bars. That's when the fear hits. Not the my stuff is gone kind, more like, oh, something really bad is about to happen kind. I go inside, pull up the security footage, and there it is. Billy, clear as day, glancing around, crouching next to the Harley. He doesn't have keys, just wires, hot wires. It almost drops it getting started then, and this part still gets me. He laughs. Actually laughs like he just beat the final boss in some video game. He peels out down the street, engine screaming, barely in control. That's all I need. I march straight to Karen's house. She answers, looking ready for a fight. Chin up, eyes narrowed. I tell her your son stole my bike. She goes off, calls me a liar, says Billy's just a spirited kid, says I should let boys be boys. Then her phone rings. You ever watch all the color drain out of someone's face? Mid-sentence, she just stops, listens, hangs up, looks at me, but she's not really seeing me anymore. There's been a crash, she says. Motorcycle. Billy's hurt. And just like that, whatever fight she had left is gone. We drive separate cars, engines gunning, sirens up ahead, blue and red bouncing off houses. I pull up and there's the Harley, or what's left of it. Twisted metal chrome torn up, lying in the middle of the street like it was punished for someone else's crime. Billy's on a stretcher, blood everywhere, medics swarming. I just stand there staring, wishing I could wake up. Karen screaming his name, running toward him, trying to push past the paramedics. Billy didn't make it. Didn't see morning. Doctor said it was everything all at once, speed, inexperience, not a helmet in the world could have saved him from the way he crashed. Word travels fast in neighborhoods like mine. By noon, the whole street knows. By dinner time, Karen decides she needs someone to blame, and surprise, surprise, it's me. She goes public, says I tempted her son, says it was my fault for flaunting the bike, for not selling it to her family, for parking it in his line of sight. She waves around those old HOA warnings, like they're holy scripture files, a lawsuit before Billy's even buried. If you're thinking no way she wins that, you'd be right. But at the time, God, it felt like I was trapped in a nightmare. Court days, lawyers, neighbors called to testify. My camera footage, every message, every threat Karen ever scribbled, it all comes out. Some folks, people I'd never talked to before, finally find their spines and tell the judge what they'd seen. Karen tries to spin it all, talks herself in circles, even accuses other neighbors who aren't there to defend themselves. But facts don't care about feelings. Turns out Billy wasn't exactly a choir boy. He'd racked up fines, had a few run-ins before. The judge listens, nods, and then just like that case, dismissed. Karen's credibility blown to pieces. She loses her HOA throne, gets slapped with penalties, and a reputation so trashed you'd think she was radioactive. Here's the funny part I didn't celebrate. Not really. Sold the bike wreck for scrap. Tried to mend fences with the folks who'd watched it all go down. And one day, for the first time in a long time, the street's quiet. Not Karen's kind of silent, scared tense, but real peace. The kind where you can breathe again. Karen, she's still around but smaller now. Avoids eye contact, keeps her head down. People aren't scared of her anymore. Guess power was all she really had. Now, if you're still with me, and I hope you are, I want you to think about something. Was this justice? Was it karma? Or was it just a bunch of bad choices stacked on top of each other until something broke? I know I didn't put Billy on that bike. I know I didn't cause him to twist the throttle too hard or cut that corner too sharp. But grief doesn't play fair, and people love a scapegoat. I'll say this, sometimes the real lesson hits after the dust settles. When you realize that standing up for yourself, documenting every little thing, refusing to bend, it doesn't just protect you. It reminds everyone else that control has a limit, and the truth always finds daylight, even if it takes the long way around. So, what do you think? Did Karen get what she deserved? Where's the line between justice and revenge, between standing your ground and provoking disaster? Ever been blamed for something that wasn't yours to carry? Tell me your story. I want to hear it. Maybe together we'll figure out who's right and who's just loudest.